Oh, my old friend is joining. Hi, Rajesh.
Morning, sir.
Very good morning. Mute. Are you on mute? Yeah, you are.
I said I also can see another familiar face, Neeraj.
Yes.
Ah,
Morning, sir.
I think you're also in Bombay, right, Rajesh?
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, so yeah, Bombay, right. Cool.
Bombay Kingdom.
So yeah, Kansha, so I'll just start, okay? So thank you, gentlemen, for joining this. What I was telling Neeraj that it might be an exclusive one-to-one session with him. So Rajesh, thank you for.
Unless you want an exclusive one-to-one, I'll log out.
No, I think I need you as the devil's advocate. So good that you joined in.
No, I'm the observer.
You're the observer. Now that's so typical, Rajesh. So yes, I'm willing to establish and maintain the agreement that you can observe and let us know how it goes, right? So all right. So what I've done is actually just put together a small PPT, Neeraj, Rajesh. But needless to say, I think you guys have also been in this journey for quite some time. And it will be absolutely audacious of me if I feel that, okay, I'm going to say something earth-shattering. But yes, thank you, Abhyudaya. Thank you, Akansha. It is a privilege to share maybe what is just my perspective, my story, my understanding about the what I believe is also a very important competency of PCC level. So today this webinar is about competency 3, which is establishing and maintaining agreement. So by my watch, we are at 11:09. So we have approximately 45-50 minutes. I know you guys to be great speakers otherwise. So please make sure that, you challenge me, contribute to the session so that people who later on catch on to this or watch this are also taking back a lot more. Okay, so far so good. Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot. So let me just share this PowerPoint. Okay. So here we are. Okay, so I think to begin with, why should you really listen to me, right? I mean, at least for me, it's always important that I convey that little bit of information about me so that you know who are you really engaging with, right? So a very little bit about me. My name is Anita Rao Jayakumar. I have about 24 years of experience, where 14 has been in the corporate sector and 9 years has been as a entrepreneur. So I am purposely stressing on the entrepreneur part, and I'll tell you why, because it is completely relevant to what we are going to talk about today. So I academically happen to be an architect. So my husband is also an architect. So together, one of the businesses that we have is it's called Miraki Eco Design. So we do design, build, landscaping, and interiors. So that is what you see first, Miraki Eco Design. Um, I know it sounds very strange, but I've had a very checkered experience, both academically and work-wise. So although I'm a architect by training, I frankly got back to architecture much later after marriage, because in between I went on to do a lot of courses in finance. If you check my LinkedIn profile, I have a strong base in BFSI sector, a lot of corporate experience there. So, and my brother is also a certified financial planner, like I am. So both of us, I think Neeraj, you might know FPSB, Financial Planning Standards Board of India. So CFP is now, because both of us are CFP, I also have co-founded a firm called the Money Stream, which is into investments, insurance, and loans. Of course, last but not the least, the capacity in which I'm talking to you is as a founder of my firm, which is the Mindstream, which is into training, coaching, and consulting. Okay. So I hope that was not too much to stomach, but I do believe in dabbling in different pursuits. Having said that, to me, the core competency of establishing and maintaining agreement is not just a PCC, ACC thing. It's to me like a way of life. Like literally, Kal ki baat. I mean, literally, it was yesterday, and I was talking to a client who is, wanting to build a farmhouse rather. He's wanting to build a farmhouse. Now, his first line was, I want to build a place which is very warm and inviting to everybody. Now, what I think is warm and inviting, my colors, my shape, my design, my placement of greenery, and his understanding, I realized were very different, right? Similarly, in money stream, if I'm managing the financial portfolio of somebody, if we are not clear together, and if we are not establishing that clarity and agreement, that how much risk you want to take, where are you comfortable investing, what goal are you trying to achieve through your financial planning, it is again going to go completely kaput. Same way, if I come to the training, coaching, consulting world also, if I'm doing a 2-hour online session, unless there is a establishing and maintaining agreement that these are your participants, these are the learning outcomes, this is what you want them to take back at the end of 2 hours or 1 hour, again the feedback is going to go haywire. So, gentlemen, allow me to maybe with a little bit of pride actually say, or rather repeat, that establishing uh, and maintaining agreement to me has now become a way of life. So, of course, I try hard now to do it like, in the coaching sessions as well. But yeah, I realize that it has got uses in other areas of your life as well. Now, before I really proceed further, I'd like to ask you both one question. What has been your experience with this competency in your coaching journey? Neeraj coaches his colleagues, he has a mentee. Rajesh, of course, also coaches people. Rajesh also writes a lot. So, what has been your experience with regards to this competency?
Yeah, maybe Neeraj can start since he joined earlier. So if Neeraj wants to share anything, then I'll speak.
Yeah, I think it's a very important aspect and to build that trust and confidence. Of course, we need to maintain agreement. But while discussing, and it goes in our case, the challenge is more because we know many of colleagues in different way. We tend to develop some kind of biases or judgments like this. So maintaining this agreement to understand this, we have to follow this process. At times it becomes really challenging, but while keep coming back to this competency and reviewing it helps me at least we have to follow this, and that's why I thought I should attend this session. And of course, I also take this opportunity to thank you, Rajesh, sir, for in fact mentoring me. We had 2 sessions, and thank you, Rajesh, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Neeraj told something very interesting, and I'll kind of lean into that after Rajesh is done. Yeah, Rajesh?
Yeah, I think what you said, Anita, was so critical now. Like you said, it's a way of life. And I think that's the power of coaching. Sometimes you just take it for granted. It's almost like you don't even think twice. Somebody says something, you use your own biases, your own filters, your own perceptions to make meaning of what they've said, rather than actually confirming with them what they really, really want. And I can just, to illustrate what I'm saying, I was coaching somebody yesterday, peer coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and this lady started talking something very personal about a loved one's illness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was no, while she was a coach herself, and but I don't know for what reason, she said she wants to talk about what she's just, they had gone for a doctor's appointment. I think it was to do with her husband. And they had learned some news from that doctor appointment, and she just started talking. Like it was almost like 7, 8 minutes into the call, I was realizing that she just was sharing and sharing and sharing a lot. And I just said, um, we have so much time for this session. I just like to say, what would you like me to do in this session for you? Would you just like me to hear you out? You know,
Mm-hmm.
because it seemed like she just wanted somebody to hear her. And then, for my first instinct was that should I just keep quiet and let her speak, because it was extremely personal about illness and sickness. And it so happened that I was also going through something with my mom's illness. So, it was almost like the impact for me was a little more intense, because on one hand, I was in my mind, it was difficult to keep presence because my mom was going through an illness and I had committed to this coaching. So I didn't want to back out of it. But for a minute, I just said, what would you want me to do? And then she said, no, I want some resolution at the end. I want to explore a little bit about what I'm going through right now.
Right.
So unless I'd asked her, my own mental issue at that point of time, my mother not being well, and listening to her problem, I would have just said, "Chupchap baithe raho," like I would have got overwhelmed by it. But then I asked her, what do you really want me to do? And she said, no, I want to explore why I'm feeling what I'm feeling now. So it became a much more rational conversation than an emotional conversation, completely ulta. It was about what she should do, what actions she needs to take, like a typical coaching thing. Not something, but it gave, initially I could have been completely misled by the fact that she was very highly emotional. She was talking about, but maybe clients speak in a certain manner, but what they're looking for from you is totally different. So that was the learning for me as of yesterday evening.
Oh, wow. Interesting. Interesting. Jhansi, good morning. Welcome to the session. We've just started off and I was trying to collect thoughts from Rajesh and Neeraj. Are you able to hear us and see us loud and clear?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much, Anita.
Okay, awesome. So even before introducing the competency, Neeraj, who works in Union Bank of India, Rajesh, of course, who's a coach and happens to have mentored Neeraj also. So I was just checking with them, how has this competency been for them? So Jhansi, any experience you'd like to share with regards to this?
So sure, I think this has helped me a lot, this competency. At this point, I am undergoing the learning part, going through an extensive learning sessions on how to, build my skill around this. And like mentioned, client does go into different areas. You need to bring them back and, look at, what you can achieve in the 30 minutes or 40 minutes that you have. And this competency plays such an important role, without which, you may not land to an extent. So this is where I feel it's super important. This has helped me immensely. Started realizing it, and based on the mentor feedback that I got, I was doing this somewhere around 10 minutes into the conversation. I had been asked to move it a little ahead in time, the first 5 minutes, of the conversation. So that I'm using the time effectively, and I'm making conscious efforts to use the time effectively.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jhansi. Now I'll just take a little bit from what Neeraj and Rajesh both said. Neeraj told about how when he coaches at his workplace, it is with known people. So, to me, yes, this competency really starts right there, where the establishing and maintaining agreement also starts with who are we both being in the conversation. So which means, can you please not remember that I'm GM so-and-so or AVP so-and-so or your boss or your, colleague, etc., etc. And for me, you're not someone who's got rating ABC or you've been nominated for DEF. Can you trust me and I will trust you to do the same? That here I am going to be your thinking partner. I'm just going to be a partner in your progress. And can I invite you also to play that role so that, it can be of best use for you of your time? Does that make sense, Neeraj? Yeah, that establishing and maintaining agreement right at the word go of who am I being and who can I invite you to be? Yeah. Now, with regards to what Rajesh said and Jhansi was saying, it's like, I feel like it's a lifesaver competency because, especially in professional context, see, coaching after all is a conversation. And unless we are very, very focused on the client's outcomes, it will seem like somebody can actually ask us later on, okay, what did we really achieve? So actually, this competency, I think, is work. It's like the way doctors, lawyers have professional indemnity insurance. The same way, I think for us, the competency 3 plays a very key role. The more we stay focused, and like Jhansi said early in the conversation, the more the rest of the conversation can be like a focused one. To add to what, not to add to, in fact, to borrow from what Rajesh said, when the client comes, it's like he brings the football field.
Mhm.
And to me, this competency is about putting him in the spot where that goalpost is in the front. You know, so because if we also start playing football in the whole field, then I don't think the client will easily be able to score the goal, or in other words, achieve the outcome. Does that make sense? Is that a fair thing to say? Yeah. Cool. So in that case, very quickly, although I totally believe and respect that you have the understanding of it, but just as the host of your webinar, what are the sub-competencies that are there? So we have 4 markers. The first one is where the coach partners with the client to identify or reconfirm where is the session headed. Second is to reconfirm to know how will the client achieve it. Third one is to understand what's important about achieving that in this session, today, now, at this point in time. And the last one is about what is it that the client believes is the exact thing to be done for the overarching outcome. Now, not to get into the jargon or not to get into the English of it, I thought why not explore these markers using cases that I have gone through, and 100% you people also might have witnessed certain situations like that. So what I've done is over the next few slides, I have put like a case. I have put the markers, you know, on one side, and I thought we can discuss using the like situation. So, you know, one of the cases that I often get is, you know, when somebody wants to work on their marriage or a personal relationship with a parent, with a spouse, partner. So I'd like to throw the question to the room that now let's say you're working on, you want to work, the client comes and says, I want to work, improve my relationship with my partner. Let's say my husband, okay, or my wife. How would these 4 competencies look like? May I invite you to share some statements? So the client's initial statement, I want to improve my relationship with my wife or husband.
We can check how important this is for them.
Okay. So that will be probably 3.3. Somewhere you're touching 3.3 when you,
Importance.
yeah.
What a success would, what would they like to see as an end result, or what would bring that change for them?
Okay, that
I
would be
mean,
3.4.
yeah.
Sure, Jhansi. Can we start from the top? What would be 3.1?
Yeah, I would probably say that what for them is a good relationship, you know. Uh, so yeah, you're improving something, but what would you qualify or define as a good relationship? Or even to the extent of what is the challenge, maybe building from this, what is the challenge that they actually facing at this point of time in the relationship? That could probably be in the evoke awareness section. But
Right.
yeah, somewhere leading up to that would be the next question. Somewhere would be about where is the real challenge in the relationship today?
Okay.
And
Does
maybe
that,
once they have stated that, we can ask them what would they expect from this 30-40 minutes of session that we have? What would they like to change? Or,
right.
yeah, maybe.
Sorry, or?
What would they like to be coached on specifically? Asking a very bold question.
Okay, fair enough. Anything, Neeraj, from your side?
I think most of things are covered. Maybe something why is so important for that person. Like at what brings what why he decided to discuss this maybe at this moment.
Right. So that's again 3.3. So, you know, why again this, I'm in love with this competency. So for example, of course, it's played out a million different ways, but in one of the sessions, I remember that the client statement was, I want my wife to understand me more. At the end of today's session, I want to know how to make my wife understand me more. What do you think is the problem with this outcome? Is it in his control whether his wife will understand or not?
Anything to do with the spouse is not in your control.
True that. True that. That's like the universal
I'm
law.
talking as a man here, by the way.
And I won't dispute that universal law. So the way that conversation went was, firstly, I felt the need to check with him if he wanted to reword his outcome by just gently checking that, okay, what was his real outcome? Like, did he want to find out ways to ensure that his wife understood him better, or did he want his wife to understand better? And of course, one of the ways, and I think that's where I agree with Rajesh, um, which will be between 3.1 and 3.2, helping that person define what a ideal relationship for him looks like, getting to the challenges, building on what Jhansi said. There could be 3-4 challenges. What might be the challenge which has maximum impact according to them? Perhaps a scaling question. So today, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being lowest, 10 being highest, where would you peg your relationship? And the ideal relationship that you defined, what does that number look like? Today, what is it that you'd like to work on, which will help you take that relationship from A to B? So now, imagine this is just the early part of the conversation. But when done well, this itself can be transformational for the client, or it can also be transactional for the client, where he walks out with just 2-3 specific strategies. Call more, respond faster, spend the Sunday, don't go golfing. So it could be that, or like it happened in my client's case, a lot of insecurity because the wife was kind of more successful than him. So eventually it moved to the insecurity and the belief system conversation, because I felt like I could spend time on this competency. Because that client could somewhere voice that, yeah, one of the challenges is I feel she's always lecturing me just because she's in a better position. So that's why 3.1 here could be that.
And Anita, I have a point.
Yes,
Today,
sure. Yeah.
You said the outcome that the client said was she should understand me better, right? Is that what you said?
Correct.
And I'm just curious to know why that would not be the right outcome. Because the client is saying that he wants to improve the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And in that client's head, it is saying the relationship is not optimum for him because the spouse is not understanding him better.
Yes.
And that is the outcome that he's, how can I figure out in this 1 hour of coaching session ways to see how I can improve my relationship so that I am understood better. What would be wrong with that outcome? You said there's something wrong with that outcome.
So you know what? Maybe something wrong was not what I intended, but you only answered by saying, saying that I want to feel more understood is different than saying they have to understand me. So I was just gently checking, is he taking ownership, or is he just expecting someone else in the relationship to do all the work?
But that's getting a little judgmental right now in the beginning, right? Whether he's taking ownership. You're saying the client is right. The client at
Yes.
this moment, his agenda is that I'm not feeling understood. Right or wrong is not even for us to judge, right?
Not at all. Not at all.
Correct. But he's not feeling understood and he feels that he wants to improve that aspect of the relationship.
Yeah, but that's not what he said.
No.
He voiced it as a complaint for the wife. And so I was trying to maybe evoke a little bit of awareness, or maybe just even clarify to see who does he see himself as in the relationship? Like so, later in the conversation to get to, is he aware of his part in the relationship? And you're totally right. I mean, using the word wrong was not the right thing by me. But this is just about clarifying that is he clear about what does he really want? Because as a client, I was just trying to see that can he be aware, or can he look at it in a way that, or does he want to look at it in a way where he has to do something about it or someone else has to do something about it? And not at all from a right or wrong, just that awareness.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, see that this happened like for almost 9 sessions. So a lot of things played out. And here in the word go, I frankly did what you told, Rajesh. I in fact asked him, can you define? And he said, yeah, growing up, I didn't want the way my parents were, etc., etc. So he told certain things like that. So the first thing was, yes, he wanted to accomplish that. He wanted the overall relationship to be better. He wanted to feel more understood. So that became my 3.1. Now, 3.2 is how will you know? So he literally gave some very interesting measures. No slamming of doors. Conversation is continuing more than 5 minutes. They both are not raising their voices. Uh, he is able to keep calm. He's able to request his wife to keep calm. So he gave these literally 5 measures. And I was like, wow. So then all I had to do was paraphrase it. Okay, so if you were to achieve any of these or all of this, what would that mean for you? And he said, yeah, that would mean that I'm moving from A to a B in my relationship. It is improving. I am feeling more understood. So then I asked about, okay, so why is it important now? What to our, conversation. And so he was like, no, I feel like, she keeps me and I'm done with it. I've also done A, B, C, D. Maybe my business, he was a businessman. The wife was a corporate honcho. Obviously, as a businessman, he had his struggles, variable. The wife had a different kind of stress, but more steady income. He literally said things like she had cards which allowed lounge access in airports, whereas he did not yet have that. So to me, like, it's almost like a very fun exploration of the first 5 to 12 minutes. What can sometimes trigger a person. And so why it is important for me, like, I want to really feel like I'm also bringing to the table, and we are having the ideal relationship that I want, and I want to make it happen. They had younger children. So he said, I don't want them to remember about me and my wife the way I sometimes remember about my parents, which is not in a good way. So that to me would be 3.3. Last, of course, what was, the most important thing that I feel can be a game changer is how can we ensure we both listen to each other. So then what happened is, because of this competency, it helped me narrow down by asking, okay, you shared about feeling insecure, you shared about her having certain corporate privileges which you don't have, you shared about how you did not feel understood, you shared about being good role model for your children, you shared about the game changer being better listeners to each other. What among these would be a good thing to work today? And so then that session became very focused about only the listening skills as a husband and wife. Are you all with me? Is that making sense? Any thought, anything? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So, Anita, I get that, the right usage of words, further drilling down and breaking down, what's expected is so important. And it's done at multiple levels. We may not be able to, specifically say that this is 3.2 and 3.3, but it could be a combination of both, or
Okay.
maybe just one. And it's all on the situation, how one can use it effectively.
Absolutely, Jhansi. I mean, obviously, because I'm hosting this webinar, I'm trying to split hairs in the markers. Of course, it happens much more seamlessly, much more slightly blurred way, but with the same outcome of achieving clarity for the session's outcome. Yeah, Rajesh, would you like to add something?
Yeah, no, I was thinking about the 3.2 is where I struggle, and maybe you can also share your experience that sometimes, you know, and I understand why it's important because, what you can't measure is the typical thing about unless people put down the metrics of whether a session was successful and how do they. But very often I find I struggle myself when I don't ask with enough conviction to say, like, if somebody's talking of a really um, I want to feel better kind of thing. I at the end of this session, I want to really feel better, lighter, clearer, blah, blah. And then you say, but what will make you feel that way? Now it's a feeling, correct? Now I know it when I feel it, but then you're forcing words into the mouth of that client to say, ab batao, 1, 2, 3, 4, kaisa pata chalega ki you're feeling lighter, you're feeling better. I struggle myself because very often as human beings, we don't know really to pin it down, right? We feel, now I'm feeling a little more relaxed and happy and cheerful. And I'm looking very, so if it's a feeling conversation, it becomes very tricky. If you were to say that I want to come and brainstorm with you and come up with 4 different ideas, then I know that, yeah, there's a definite concrete action plan that for 4 different ideas to manage my time better. Let's say if it's a time management kind of conversation, it's relatively easier to put down measures of success, unless it's a little ambiguous territory like feeling or somebody wanting to offload some of some ranting is required. So, what has been your understanding about this one and your experience?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Rajesh, because I think I I I have attempted to marry what you yourself said, about removing the ambiguity. So, example, exactly the same case. So, one of the clients, what I attempted to do, and it worked in that conversation, is that okay, today you feel this way, tomorrow you want to feel differently. Today, when you feel this way, what do you end up doing?
Okay.
Okay, and that person said, I end up scrolling Instagram unnecessarily, or I watch some mindless thing on Netflix, or I end up doing something which is non-productive. I go out with my colleagues for a tea, and that break turns into one very long break. I realized that, incidentally, this was again a time management client. So then, okay, so if you're not feeling lost and you're feeling like, gung-ho about the day, what would you be doing differently?
Nice.
So maybe that is one way to do it.
Yeah, it's a nice. Then you're linking it to behavior.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Behavior, habit, action point.
Yeah.
Sometimes, although they themselves are able to figure it out, they will literally say, one lady, in fact, said, I make more effort in my dressing.
Hmm.
When I feel disgusted, again, a couple issue, when I'm not feeling good about what's happened the night before or something, I realize that I'll just pick whatever is there and I'll put it on and I go. Whereas if I'm feeling good about the day, then I make more effort in my, I open the drawers, I pick the exact, earrings to match and I wear. So maybe a little gentle prodding could see why it's actually important for us as well. I feel as coaches after the session, right?
Yeah.
It's like working on your muscles. So weight training ho gaya, but then the later on is when the effect is. For that lasting effect to be there, it's important that they be in a useful state, which is why we learn about positive psychology in our journey in the first place, right? So to ensure that they are aware about tapping into their own useful state, I feel like 3.2 is worth
Yeah.
establishing.
No, thanks a lot. I think that was useful.
Thank you. Thank you. So, ready to move on?
Yeah.
Cool. So, second one was, second case was to do with a manager in a corporate setup. He basically wanted to build a dream team. Okay, so he was having issues, ego struggles, people were not. So What are your thoughts? What could be 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, 3.4?
Probably understanding the gap and asking a straightforward question where does the team not meet the expectations and what they would like to achieve at the end of this session. What is the shift that they would like to see?
Okay. That's one way to do it. So that would be about 3.1. Anything else?
Wait for Anita, she has something to share.
Yeah, sure.
Ask probably what does a dream team look like to him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So envisioning the future of
Yeah.
Maybe something what has worked in past.
Yeah, that's a good one. In fact, I tried a variety of that, Neeraj, where I asked him, who did he look up to as a leader, as a kind of leader who has built a dream team? So, he had. So that is what to me was like, the 3.1. Worked in that conversation. I've tried similar variants, has worked. So maybe that's why I have a comfort with that. Where one is, of course, the straightforward way, like Jhansi said. So tell me what's happening in your dream team. That's not happening today. So 3.2 could be, okay, tell me top 3 things that your team is starting to do tomorrow that they are not doing today. And maybe Jhansi, I'll just again feel free to challenge me totally. We all are aware about this solution thinking versus problem thinking. So sometimes when we bring their focus to gaps immediately, then unknowingly the danger could be that we move towards problem thinking. And that is where a lot of content will be shared, a lot will be shared. How each team member is messing up in their own way could be shared. And before you know it, the client may move to a state which is not useful. And he could get into, because this has happened to me, and it could get into a mode where he feels that if only I had a different set of people, it would be fine. Vis-a-vis, maybe staying focused on, okay, tell me, how does the better picture look like? And how can your guy be better in what ability, what skill, what attitude? So, 3.2 could be that, okay, so how will you know that you are on your path to building a dream team? So then he gave an interesting answer. I want to very clearly know who I can depend on, who I know I'll probably have to do a PIP, and who can I groom to be the star performers of tomorrow. So now, bingo. So today, how aware are you? He's like, I have no clue. And so for him, the first step towards building a dream team was to be clear on the ABCD players. The top 10%, the middle 70%, and then the laggard 20%, and the bottom 10% who you have a chat with HR about. And I said, okay, what else could be a measure? If all of us have read Time to Think, More Time to Think, Nancy Klein talks about the power of what else. So okay, so what else could be a measure? That, they uh, like they should just be able to come and share whatever is on their mind. To which I gently asked, so today, what do you think stops them from doing that? And then he went into that thinking mode. He's like, And he just laughed. He's like, you know what, Anita, I'm actually 6'1", and I can look very intimidating, especially when I'm not smiling or having a serious look. Maybe they don't feel like coming and talking to me. So then I'm like, would you like to do something about it later on in the conversation? And I purposely had a smile on my face because, we mirror each other's energy, right? So then he was like, yeah, definitely. And I really don't want them to gossip amongst themselves. I want them to come and share with me. And yes, we'll explore that as one of the points. Then I said, okay, what else can be the measure? Everybody. Okay, great. Now, I did not prod further in this because this would require a slightly more detailed conversation. So I said, okay, great. What else? So then I said, no, as a start, these three things, if they have, I think I'm building the dream team. So 3.2.
I just have a point here.
Sure.
The first one is want my team to respond to me well and be the dream team actually are two different, can be looked at would you want to focus on this or you want to focus on that? Because want my team to respond to me well is a very often a big challenge for a lot of leaders, right? Am I able to create the right influence on my people? Are people listening to me? Am I being assertive? So that is my leadership quality that needs to be, and that's a separate coaching conversation to say how
Yes.
can I get people to, how can I become a better leader? And becoming a dream team could also be a separate team. So I would, for instance, ask them, what is more important for you at this stage? Wanting to your team to respond to you well, is that the critical part since we only have 45 minutes? Or would you want to focus on this whole concept of the dream team? So even I would actually split that and to get a little more clarity on the goal. That was one. Secondly, I'm saying dream team banna hi chahiye is a vision. How do I become the leader of a dream team? So back to accountability on what needs to be done at my end. So I become the leader. So what can I do as a leader? Create that kind of people who want to follow me and then become a dream team around me. Rather than saying dream team is hiring the right people, then it becomes a little, I'm detached from this thing.
Correct.
मेरा काम है लोगों को लाना और लोगों को, but what can I do to
Yeah.
become the leader of this dream team? So
Yes.
slightly different nuance to that.
No, you're right. And that was my learning. So I had not been able to do that as part of the 3.1. Luckily, without a specific effort from my end, in 3.3, the client unearthed it himself. Because when I asked him, okay, so what's important and why are you doing this now? He said, I have been given feedback as a leader to work on certain things in me so that I'm building a dream team.
Right.
Then I very coincidentally asked him the question, but then, so you have told both these things. Can you tell me what did you have in mind when you said?
Yeah.
Then he clarified that, no, I want to build a dream team, but I feel like to me, the good starting point is if the team is responding to me and sharing things with me transparently, including like, don't accept timelines without checking with us once, or, let's keep downtimes into account. So he shares some technical stuff. And he said, if I'm able to be aware from my team, and I feel like I have already begun that process. So that accountability got. So which is why in maybe in a different conversation, I think you're right, Rajesh. I'll also probably end up clarifying that, hey, you're saying this and this, which is it? Or what do they mean to you because you are sharing them together?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Now 3.4 is okay. So you have shared, 4-5 things which you feel your team can do differently. You as a leader can do differently. So we've got about 8 points listed out. Now, would you agree, Mr. Client, that, we'll need some time to work through all 8 of them? What would be the most useful thing to catch up today?
Yeah.
And then he said, no, but not one. Can we do 2 things? Because I really have a very important project going on. So I'm like, yeah, we can try and explore, because he seemed very like, think about that idea. So there, if I had tried to say, no, I don't know whether we'll have time or not. So I thought, okay, if we don't, we don't, but let's explore it. So we picked top 2 points, and that's how the conversation went. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Third one, classic one, of course.
Sorry, I have to step out for another meeting, but it was really nice meeting you and the rest of them. And I look forward to more of these sessions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jansi. Try and catch the rest of the recording online.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. So anyway, we are more or less like, done. We just the last couple of slides. So procrastination. Again, a huge football field. For somebody, it's about to-do list. For somebody, it is time management. For somebody, it is waking up early. Somebody, it is delaying what they are scared of. So it's like the conversation goes to a belief level. So procrastination is a huge conversation, right? And an important one, which quite a few people at least bring when they come to me. What is your thoughts? What would be a useful way to work with this competency? Any sharp statements or any?
Sorry, I didn't get your point.
So what I was trying to say, Rajesh, is that since procrastination is a huge topic,
Yeah,
what would be some useful ways to implement this competency
right.
so that we are able to narrow down again? Because this competency to me is all about narrowing down, filtering down, getting the client to. Like in case you have had especially Rajesh, I think because you would be meeting a more variety of clients. If you've happened to dealt with procrastination, any angle that you have worked with?
Yeah, I can share with you with the senior client.
Mm-hmm.
And my experience has been that with procrastination, and you're talking to senior leaders, particularly, that's the audience that I typically cater to. It's never really about time management. मतलब हम लोग का understanding is to, okay, procrastination means, they are doing many things and they're not able to, therefore, so you typically start with saying Eisenhower time management framework. And
Yes.
you realize that's not what it is. You basically offer it to them, same because they want to know what frameworks and tools.
Mhm.
But the real issue is not about knowing which to prioritize, which not to prioritize. Very often, they are procrastinating or not taking a call is because something is not comfortable, or there's a feeling attached to it, or there's some discomfort there.
Mhm.
So far, what I have done is whenever this issue comes up, I start focusing more on what are you trying to not do. By you're trying to say, what are you doing in the moment that you're not avoiding doing this. So they'll say, for instance, okay, I'm mujhe, like this one guy I was coaching, he said that I start reading, and like I'm traveling and all, and I'm very last minute. So my wife gets very, she gets very irritated because I'm packing last moment. I'm traveling. I know next day morning I have to travel, but I'm not packing my bag. I'm doing it last moment, and I'm reading something else. So I asked him that, you have a flight to catch in the morning. You have to carry your bag. Why? What makes you not do that and do this? And he said, because that is a lot of pain for me. I mean, when I do reading, it just takes me away into things that I find joyful. So the challenge therefore becomes, how do you find joy in all the things that you find which are not joyful?
Sure.
Because it is you're avoiding pain and trying to get momentary pleasure.
Right.
In that moment, I want to quickly keep other things aside and start reading a book, because he was also very much into reading and stuff like that. So then the issue became about feelings and emotions and what we typically avoid. And if it's the more serious level stuff, you're working on a project, you want to do things that are more comfortable to you, and the really challenging one we want to avoid, because it is tough to face those issues.
Correct.
So how do we then build our capacity to handle discomfort? And that became the conversation rather than time management, because the issue was never about time. It was about managing your emotions.
Right. So where is the client finding happiness, and him or her choosing to focus on that
Yeah,
was the meta issue rather than.
correct. And like you say, na, the problem is not the problem. The problem was not about time. The problem was about managing emotions.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you, Rajesh. Similarly, I've had clients where, like you said, either they are trying to avoid something which is not comfortable, they are scared of not being good enough for that job. So things, it looks like it's time management, it looks like a delay conversation, but it could actually be a belief conversation, an emotion conversation.
Yeah.
So, like one of the clients, I remember as 3.1, I just asked him, okay, so you want to work on procrastination, you want to improve your time management. Would you say how are you in all areas of your life?
Yeah.
And then he said, nahi, nahi, in office, I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah. So it's contextual.
It's contextual. So then, but then what makes you good in office?
Yeah.
So similar to, what you said.
Yeah.
So,
And also sometimes it could be a totally different approach where you'd say, but what's coming in the way of you procrastinating? Or first you even get to the meaning of what they mean by procrastination.
correct.
And then you get into saying, so what comes in the way when you get to that stage, they'll tell you that actually I'm an overthinker. Then you start addressing that issue. So what makes you overthink? Like why does it? Then they said no, but it needs to be perfect. Then you realize that below the overthinking is this quest for not getting it wrong.
Correct.
And becoming so obsessed with perfection means I procrastinate, I don't take a call, I sit on it because I'm not so sure till the last moment whether I'm doing it right or wrong. So it
Yes.
becomes a completely different exploration.
Yes. Like in some cases, it also becomes a perfection syndrome conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think that whole filtering is possible, although few more competencies will overlap a little.
Yes.
But this competency, that's exactly what it helps us achieve.
Yeah.
To help the client, because they come and they announce that I want to avoid procrastination.
Yeah.
But the fact is they are not procrastinators. There's an emergency, and you have to get somewhere, you have to arrange some money, you have to go on a Europe vacation, you're a late riser, but the flight is at 3 a.m. Will you not get up? So it's all about what priority am I assigning, how am I feeling about it, who am I being in that situation. So to help them get that awareness, so that then they realize, okay, why is it important? Is it pinching them enough? Because I've also had interesting sessions where the client realizes, it's not that, no, I'm not that bad, no. The situation is not that bad, no. Because like as a coach, I'm not at all being judgmental about the client, but I know that unless it's a burning need or desire for him, he's not going to do anything about it. And sometimes that awareness is helpful to them, that this is not as life and death as you have made out to be at the start of the conversation. And so now, how do you feel about it? Are you at peace with it? And it's like, yeah. So maybe if I just do this one or two small things, I'm home. Thanks. And they have this, as if, somebody has literally given them a certificate of good behavior in school. So, and that's the power of this particular competency.
The other thing I'm thinking, Anita, is that sometimes words like these, heavy words, procrastination,
Yeah.
imposter syndrome,
Correct.
people say it very loosely. Then you try
Yes.
and say, but all the work that I do, executive presence.
Hmm.
So you ask them, like, what does it really drill it down to say, hai kya cheez,
Yeah.
or talk of some metaphor or bring it alive or give an example.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's like if you just take it on face value, and we use our own assumptions to say imposter syndrome is I'm not good enough or whatever, you try and fill the gaps. But
Right.
understand what they really mean by that. And
Yes.
the meaning could be totally different from what we believe
Yes.
they are saying. Procrastination is another classic case. What does it really, really mean? And
To
like you said
you.
earlier about translate it to behaviors and thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings. Kya hota kya hai ye procrastination se?
Yes.
Yeah.
The TFAR kind of, I really bank on thought, feeling,
What is
action,
TFA? What
results.
is TFAR?
Thoughts, feelings, actions, results.
Okay, right. Okay.
So what different thought can come? What different emotion would you like to experience? What is a different action or behavior that you can demonstrate? And what do you think will be the result of it? And what would that do to you?
Neeraj is very quiet. It's become a you both of us chatting.
Neeraj, no, but let me check in with you. How are you feeling right now?
Excellent. Like it's better to have clarity on how the process is going. So, a lot of ideas. And thank you very much. So,
Yeah, you can pay
that
Rajesh.
I wanted to also add something like
Yes,
you were
please.
discussing about the procrastination thing. So maybe like while we understand that many times like we are not clear, as you rightly said, what actually we want to do, what are the maybe something like this, what are the consequences of not doing it or doing it, maybe what are the implications, those kind of things we can ask them. we can get more clarity.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right. Very
Thank you,
nice.
Neeraj.
Yeah.
This is a classic. Neeraj, this is the pleasure versus pain question is like a classic, and definitely, I think somewhere will get covered as part of 3.3.
What is
So,
important on winning? Yeah.
yeah. So when we ask them, why is it important for you now? Or, even the Cartesian questions. I don't know if you've had a chance to explore that. What do you gain by doing it? What do you lose by doing it? What do you gain by not doing it? What do you lose by not doing it?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So Cartesian, very interesting. And you literally make them write if they're open to it, because it gives them really good perspective. Even if they're thinking and voicing it out, also evokes a lot of awareness, while letting them get clear on why is it really, really important. Yeah, cool. So moving on, working on a
Sorry,
dilemma.
Anita, I need to leave. I mean, how much more time do we have?
Uh, so I'll tell you what, let me do the last slide first, and then if we want, we can come back to this. Actually, working on a dilemma, there's only one shift, rest remain the same. Whenever people are, can I do this or this? You just ask them, you tell me. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, you tell me what, if you were to have made your ideal decision, humor me, but tell me what. So maybe use something like that, so that they are able to kind of crystal down. Like, work-life balance, this job, should I take or should I not take? Which car to buy? So any kind of a dilemma, to help them arrive at the parameters for the selection. So whatever they want to choose, to the 3.1 would be, what parameters will you consider? The rest of the things otherwise will remain same. Why is it important to you now, and what would you like to discuss in the with regards to the dilemma, or what are the challenges with regards to the choice? So that's how dilemma can be worked on. Otherwise, I think honestly, I was at the last slide itself. So to me, like, I've just given these 4 words simply because they feel good to me.
Yeah,
So the
just
first,
sorry, just to on that last point, that you dilemma, because that's such a common one that we
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
And even something like, what makes it a dilemma? Matlab, why is it a dilemma in the first place?
yes,
Why does it have to be like, sometimes we remember, we always talk about, you can do this and that.
correct,
Does it have to be or it
or
can be both? Because
yes,
many times we come with a black and white thing. कि
correct,
ये सही है, ये गलत है, and I have to pick one.
ha,
And many times in life you realize you can do both.
bingo.
You
So
know?
what's hard about making a choice in this situation?
Yeah, yeah.
Totally, you're right. Sorry, I interrupted you in my excitement.
No. But I'm saying, to me, that dilemma thing really, it's so often, I think, even at all of us at a very human level,
Hmm,
first instinct is to pick one. And then
correct.
if you just reflect back a little, you can say, actually, you can do this also. You can go for shopping also, and you can actually do your work also. You don't have to say, आज काम पे shopping नहीं करना है, so you can manage both if you were to do it smartly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Even that's where defining, very interestingly, in like work life in one conversation, that's what the guy ultimately discovered, that his wife, for his family, work life was not about going on a Europe vacation all the time. It was about checking in during lunch and asking, Khana khaya kya?
Hmm.
Just that. Or occasionally making that appearance in the in-laws' house and not always getting away,
Hmm.
which was making the wife feel very neglected. You make time for your shuttle, you make time for your friend's car, beer party, but when it comes to my mom calling or my brother calling, suddenly you have a project deadline and you want to answer on your mobile. So you're, even if you're physically present, you're mentally not present. So what started as a work-life balance discussion, frankly distilled into few things, strategies that the guy needed to implement to achieve that in a very successful way.
Yeah.
Neeraj, you with us? Cool. So yeah, so summarily, this is what I probably wanted to convey, that, the first marker is probably to do with clarity. We can get a lot more clarity. We could ask one question, we could ask 3 questions, but the idea is for the client to get clear. The second one, where we are trying to establish metrics, is because we are trying to purposely give productivity angle to it. Because people, when they feel like they have done something, they tend to do more. So that is how performers continue to overachieve, and laggards end up leaving the organization, or like, feeling bad about being stuck. So that productivity angle helps. Now that productivity can be in terms of thought, feeling, action, results. It can be, the measure can be anything, but a measure generally helps. The 3.3 is of course about priority. Why is it important? Why is it important now? Who is it important for? How will your life change if you were to work on this today? So whole about priority, because it's pure psychology. We don't focus on what we don't think is important. So there's nothing to do with character, behavior, good intention. It's just if I want it badly enough, I will make it happen. So that's how generally human beings are wired. Last one, the coach partnering with the client to define the immediate thing to achieve the overarching outcome is about getting into nitty-gritties. So 5 challenges बताया है, आज कौन सा चैलेंज डिस्कस करें? 5 गैप आइडेंटिफाई किया है, आज कौन सा गैप पे काम करें? 5 तरीके सूझ रहे हैं, आज कौन सा तरीका एक्सप्लोर करें? So it's about getting into the nitty-gritty to make the best use of our today's 50 minutes of the discussion. So yeah, that's my time. Sorry, I was supposed to do stop share. Why am I doing?
No, thank you so much. Really wonderful session. It always, these sessions are such, you need refreshers like these, they look like we do coaching, we do these things, we lead organizations, we're dealing with people, but it's so good to go back to basics and remind ourselves of the fundamentals of building rapport, building relationships.
Yeah.
Being more productive. Like I really love the last slide. The key word that you put down for each really puts it in perspective. They're long words, but yeah, there's one key word that sums up the whole sub-competency. So I really enjoyed this session, Anita. Thank you so much.
Thank you both of you, and of course to Jhansi too, and for your shares, because that of course is what makes it even more layered. Thank you. Keep in touch, guys, and thank you for your time. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Thanks, Rajesh. Thanks,
Bye.
Neeraj. Bye.